Hey everybody, welcome back to Southern Fried TCG. G here. Just want to go over a few things before we jump into this video. And first off, the biggest thing I want to put out there is I know I haven't been quite as active as I normally am. A lot of family stuff, and for me, family always comes first. Son's doing Pee Wee football. So there are a few things I do want to go over as we discuss these things. But first, or second I should say, is just a little idea. Everybody that's out there trying to get qualified during this qualifier season, do remember, all your weekly meets or extra meets you can make, they're all exceptionally important. Because the more practice you get, the more time you are, the more games you get in, especially with the set deck, the better your chances are. And quick insight, because there's only really two more things I want to put out there real quick. And quick insight is the DCI online cards for from Wizards. Just a little thought. Feel like we should possibly get some Transformer ones. I mean, hopefully somebody sees it and puts some motions towards that, because Magic's not really my thing, but that's our only option on the DCI cards. I'd like some Transformer pictures. I'm sure some other people would. The last thing I'm going to talk about before we get into this next video will be a little project I've been working on. Another reason why I haven't had as many videos out as I've wanted. I've recently sent out the email, hoping it all gets passed through. We'll see. But it's something I'd like to, in time, if Hasbro clears it and everybody else, for me to be able to call it the Allspark Foundation. That's what I would like. But it basically lets Allspark a child's heart and imagination is what the whole thing behind it. We all have extra commons, uncommons, and stuff like that, and been working towards some people build decks for new players, new customers. I thought, well, why not go to the local children's hospital and record for, or build decks for children that are stuck in these hospitals and certain needs. And so the email has been developed, has been sent out to the HR people at from my local area, which is Arnold Palmer Hospital. And if that doesn't work, I will reach out to Shands, which is about an hour and a half, 2 hours away, but that'll be worth it too. I just want to see kids that don't have the opportunity for any of this, especially being life-altering, life-ending diseases, or unfortunately, put a spark in their life. Basically, that was the whole thought. And in the end of it, it won't just be Transformers. I'd like to have it branch off to Pokemon, because kids love Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever other card game that we could bring them into. But as a start, I thought this would be a good idea. And any ideas on it, y'all, more than happy to hear about it. But without any further ado, we'll jump into this next video. Thank you. Okay, everybody. So here is a deck that I have been asked a few questions about. It is what I call FireHappy. Of course, Jetfire, Fire Drive, Trigger Happy, FireHappy.
Happy Tree Friends and Friends, people Nightmare in here.
Yep, for everybody that didn't know, that's Nightmare for Twisted Nightmare Gaming. You don't know, you like Yu-Gi-Oh, check out his site, or his channel, my mistake.
I don't know, we have a site too.
Well, that too. But here we are, Jetfire, Fire Drive, Trigger Happy. Now, it's an interesting thing, and anybody that's seen the Clear Blue has seen this deck play. But I have had quite a few people ask me about it. They are intrigued. So here's the thing. Of course, Fire Drive never floats. When he attacks, draw a card. Awesome. Now, Trigger Happy, he's a pretty big hitter, or can be, mainly because of two different things. First off, when you flip to this mode, return a weapon from your scrap pile to your hand. Okay, so awesome. I'm going to recur whatever I might have in here, and we will discuss that here in a short period of time. On this side, he goes to 2, 12, 2, and becomes a Pierce 4 character. Pierce 4, no matter how many, I could be swing for 6, Pierce 4, and you can block 8. You're still taking the 4. That's one of the greatest things about him. He is ranged in both modes. as well as Fire Drive being ranged.
I remember this guy now.
And then Jetfire, of course, is ranged as well, and ranged in both modes. So it's all sorts of ranged characters. But in Jetfire, he is your big hitter. 5, 15, 1, nice health pool, 10 stars, bold 1 in his alt mode. Then we flip him. When you flip to this mode, put an armor or utility from your scrap pile onto this character. Now the cool thing about that is a little insight, a little prelim to what is inside the deck. Superior jetpack, superior plating can be played onto him from that ability without playing tech research. So it's a great thing. He does lose the 1 attack in this mode, but that's okay. So this is all that there is. Now we will slowly get into the cards. First and foremost, we will have a press the advantage. It is just a one of. I have a somewhat of a, probably about 20 cards. I'm trying to figure out how to slim down the sideboard. There are 2 more of these in the sideboard, or in the 20, but I got to figure out how to dwindle that sideboard down. So of course, choose one of your Autobots, Jetfire or Fire Drive, and give them +2 attack. Choose an enemy Decepticon and gets -2 defense. Great card. Even if I'm using Trigger Happy and I'm going into another Decepticon, that other Decepticon, I can still use it to give them -2 defense. Great card with the orange for the attack, green for the pull from the flips. Makes it really good. Next, we have 2 copies of Ready for Action. Now, of course, it's a no-pip action. Untap one of your characters that has 10 stars or fewer. All 3 of the characters are 10 stars or fewer. So, having that option, really good. Especially considering Fire Drive gives you that extra draw, and you don't have to play a lot of cards very often because Jetfire is pulling them back to your hand, or back to him from the scrap. Trigger Happy's pulling them back to your hand. So, you pretty much always have what you need. Next, I have 2 copies of Bolster. Now, anybody that's been playing the game or trying to keep track of it will know that Bolster is going to be a big thing. Throwing out a bashing shield on somebody when they're attacking you to get rid of their grenade launcher, which drops their attack. Or anything like that, or even a force field, just so you only take the 4 damage. It is a great card. Next, we have 2 copies of Incoming Transmission. Incoming Transmission states that you draw 2 cards, then put a card from your hand on top of your deck. Now, putting that card on top of your deck, of course, you're going to want to use either a white pip or a double orange, preferably. Well, would be a Peace Through Tyranny. And another early prelim, just so you know, there are no improvised shields in this deck. Do not want a wasted card in hand. So it is a great card for giving yourself that extra little, not so much, I wouldn't call it a draw support, but thinning it out to where you get what you need in hand. Next, we have 2 copies of Equipment Enthusiast. Equipment Enthusiast says draw a card for each of your upgrades. Now, it's all across the board. So, being he recurs it, he pulls them back to your hand. I've pretty much always, anytime I've played this, had about 2 to 4 upgrades out on the board. That's 2 to 4 draw cards. Really good. Now, in other scenarios, it could go out and possibly even as a sideboard idea. I've had Piercing Blaster, or not Piercing Blaster. Oh, I can't remember the name of it. It's the white pip action that gives you Pierce 3. I'm sure it'll come to me here shortly. Next, I have 3 copies of Supercharge. Supercharge. One of your characters gets bold 3 until end of turn. Great card, especially in a somewhat aggro build or fairly well aggro build. Giving any of these characters that supercharge, I mean, absolutely incredible. He's already a 5 in this mode, bold 1, so then he gets bold 4. I mean, come on, guys. Next, we have 3 copies of Treasure Hunt. Now, this has hurt me and helped me a lot. It's I learned through playing it, especially in this build, that finding it or using it and watching your scrap pile is the key, because this deck is, even though I use a lot of action or upgrades, it is still more action focused, mainly because I control like the draw and everything else. Next, we have 3 copies of Peace Through Tyranny. Now, Peace Through Tyranny, you may KO one of your characters that has 6 stars or more. If you do, take another turn. After this one, now of course, every single one here is 6 stars or more. Now, of course, you don't really ever want to use that on Jetfire or Trigger Happy. For the most part, is here for the double orange pit. But in some situations, with fire, especially with Fire Drive, if I'm really low health, being able to Peace Through Tyranny, Fire Drive, and swing twice, once with Jetfire, once with Trigger Happy, or even on a wheel turn, it becomes absolutely crucial, and has actually won me the game several times. Let's see. Alright, and then next we have 3 copies of Rollout. Now, Rollout, flip each of your characters from bot mode to alt mode. Now, if I had Jetfire and Trigger Happy both in alt or bot mode, they would flip back, and then he gets the bold one, he gets the trigger, the weapon back to the hand. So the whole thing is, he starts there, then I would flip him for turn, you play Rollout, flipping him back, he pulls the armor or utility, and then he pulls the weapon. That gives you 2 new cards in hand, and you can swing with him having bold 1. Not to mention orange and blue pip helps you on action, attacking and on defense. Great card. Next, we will be getting into the weapons. To start off with, we have 1 copy of Bashing Shield. Bashing Shield says whenever you put this on a character, scrap an enemy armor, gives you that static +1. Orange pip, green pip for picking it up out of your flips. Great card. Next, I have 1 copy of Superior Plating. I have had the thought or an argument with some people about whether or not it even needs to be in a deck. I do have some blue in here, but it is primarily a orange based deck, but just that little touch really does help, especially with the tough 4. I don't often go to the Superior Plating, and that is why it is only a 1 of. I normally will go to either a Bashing Shield or even a Force Field, preferably usually a Force Field. Anybody that's seen this gameplay, that they know that that's where I will go, unless I want him to have Pierce 4 and him to have Pierce 4. Then at that point for Jetfire, I will pull out the Superior Jetpack, which is a 1 of. White pip, giving you extra flips on attacking or on defense, and you get Pierce 4. I mean, guaranteeing that 4 damage is very nice. So, and then last for our 1-ofs for the weapons is a Scoundrel's Blaster. Scoundrel's Blaster is put on Decepticons only. Blue pip with an orange, or excuse me, green pip as well to be able to retrieve it. +2 static and Pierce 2 when you're going into an Autobot. It is a great card. So of course it would only go for Trigger Happy, but it has been very nice to have that there at all times. I can see possibly getting rid of it for something else, considering I'm always pulling it back. It's almost not necessary, but there's been a couple times to where that Pierce 2 on top of that Pierce 4, because I'm going into an Autobot, has been really crucial. That's a guaranteed 6 attack every time I swing in. Now, next we are in our 2-ofs for the weapons. I have 2 copies of Thermal Weaponry. Because of the, once again, it is focusing on the Pierce factor. It is, you get Pierce 1 for every single blue pip you flip, and the static +1, plus the orange pip. So if I play it on Jetfire, I'm in this mode, so he's now a 6 with Pierce for every single blue. So yeah, I might not hit, or even if the jetpack's on, then I got Pierce 4 plus Pierce 1 for every single blue. It really starts adding up, and for anybody that has questions about Pierce becomes absolutely amazing, especially whenever you are controlling the game. Next, we have 2 copies of Erratic Lightning. Now, Erratic Lightning is a weapon. It has the orange pip, gives you +3 on attack, -1 on defense. Now, that -1, okay, that would suck for Jetfire or for Trigger Happy. However, throw it on Fire Drive. That's great. So now Fire Drive might be -1 defense, but he's already at a 0. Who cares? And at the end turn, I'd prefer for him to die anyway. So, and that'd be why there's really only 2 of them. Same with the thermal weaponry, because there's better weapons, but having these 2 in there, it really, really nice. And they both came in clutch. Next, I have 2 copies of Energon Axe. Energon Axe, of course, blue pip, +3 attack, static, and Pierce 2 no matter what. The only bad part, and it's really not a bad thing, because you can put it on damaged characters only. 9 times out of 10, by the time I get it or am ready to use it, any number of my characters are damaging can go on any of them, which is great. Next, kind of what we had talked about before after the insight, is 3 copies of Force Field. Force Field, if the upgraded character would take 5 or more attack damage, instead scrap that card and the character only takes 4. White Pip, great card, great way to save some characters. Say you're only sitting at 5 health, you stick a bolster out there, and next thing you know, you've bolstered into your Force Field and saved yourself the game. It's actually happened to me a few different times. It's a great card. Next, we have 3 copies of Armed Hovercraft. Now, Armed Hovercraft, you can only put it, or you put it on anybody, blue pip, +1 attack. Static, now when you put it on a ranged character, and once again, all the characters are ranged, do 1 damage to each enemy. Now, because Fire Drive and Trigger Happy, Trigger Happy has the Pierce, Fire Drive still swings for low numbers for the most part. Sometimes that extra 1, I've actually had it down in a board state to where it was, I think I Trigger Happy, and I was going into 3 of their characters, 2 of which only had 1 life. I threw an Armed Hovercraft after flipping Trigger Happy back to this mode, threw an Armed Hovercraft on them, knocked out 2 guys, and then swung with Trigger Happy, and I still lost the game, but I almost won it with playing that, and it really made a change to the game. A couple other things have been changed around since I did that way, but it really helped. And finally, last but not least, we have 3 copies of Grenade Launcher. Now, static +4 attack, orange pit 4 attacking. After the upgraded character's attack, scrap the card. Great card. You will notice this deck is very specific towards what it has to tailor to. And there lies why I've had the few problems I've had with the sideboard. I have a stack of cards in the sideboard. I mean, I have thoughts from 2-pronged to new designs. I have a 3rd copy of Bolster. I mean, there's marksmanships. I mean, the list goes on and on, because here's the thing. I can actually, right now it's geared slightly more aggro, but there's another build, and I haven't even tested it yet, but it can go more defensive. I mean, we got bombing runs and everything else. And then the even bigger thing is, now we have Siege 2 Wave 4 coming here soon. And once that happens, a lot of things are going to just be great. I feel like, as much as I like my Decepticons, Press the Advantage, and well, mainly Press the Advantage, really just gears everything towards Autobots. I mean, not necessarily, there are ways to make them work, but I feel like he could be replaced. Maybe we'll see as Siege 2 comes into play. But another thing to remember about Fire Drive is when he is KO'd, he does become a weapon. You are drawing off of him. You are pulling back cards from the scrap pile with Trigger Happy. He's getting free upgrades. At that point, this and all that draw ability, getting to scrap it away to static +3, scrap away as many cards in your hand, and the upgraded character gets +1 for each one. And then even if they bashing shield this away, you would lose the +3 attack, but every card that you scrap during that, you still remain with that +1 attack from that. So if you were swinging with him with this attached, and you scrap 5 cards, he's now a 10 attack, bold 1. Even if they bashing shield that away, leaving it with only the 10, not the 13, excuse me, he would still remain at 10. He would lose the 3, but he would still remain at 10 because you scrapped 5 cards. That is just absolutely amazing. So, without further ado, don't forget, hit that like and subscribe button, y'all. Really enjoy doing this, and would really enjoy any feedback. Let me know any comments, any thoughts, any feelings. You hate it, you love it, you want more, anything, just let me know. In the long run, I will be bringing more deck profiles, and I plan to even do some the defensive version with this and go along with that as well. And I will hopefully bring that one to you in the next few weeks. Final two things is, first, this is towards the end of the Energon Invitational qualifier season. Tomorrow is Central Florida's first one. It will be held in DeLand at Buy, Sell, and Play. The following one is in DeBerry. And then the very next weekend, we have one here at West Orange Comics and Games, where I'm at. We will have, oh man, I almost forgot it. I did forget his name. I want to say I can't remember his first name. It's Perez, but he's the artist and colorist for some of the IDW Transformer comics, as well as for several of the cards for Transformers. He will be here doing signings and stuff like that. And then the following day after that, there's one at Windows in Clearmont. So that's 2 weekends in a row, four Energon Invitational qualifiers. Do not forget to go to those. They are great opportunities, especially if you want to be competitive in this game. And I will be there recording as well as everything else, so do not forget that. And then last but not least, once again, hit that like and subscribe button, everybody. Thank you for watching, and G is out.